Next up, Randy Hekman from the Randy Hekman campaign.
Thanks very much. Appreciate it. You know, I've always been taught that the mind can't absorb more than the seat can endure. So stand up, why don't you, for at least 60 seconds or 30 seconds. Get a little oxygen and a little bit of circulation going, but don't leave. Come on. That would not be cool. That would not be cool. We're only half done here. I was a judge for 15 years, and I used to come into court and say, okay, be seated. So you can do that, please. That's good. Well, Marcia and I drove here for a little over 5 hours. It was a great drive. The weather was great. The roads were dry, which was great. But, come up here to speak for 5 minutes, you say, whoa, why? But there's good reason for it. And you know what? There's many reasons, but one that really strikes my heart is the number 1,343,812. You say, what in the world is that? To the person as best they can count them, regarding all the wars that have been fought, that's the number of soldiers, Marines, sailors, aviators, airmen that didn't come back. That's the number of people that gave their lives so that we can be here and talk like this today. And when I consider that cost, that gift to us, what we have in this country, what we've been given in this country, this constitutional system that we're talking about, and yet we're within a handful of years of just throwing it all away and saying we just don't care. Who cares? I can't stomach that. And that's why we're in this race. We're in this because there's a stampede, there's a juggernaut that's pushing America off the cliff. It's just going at high speed. And we got to turn it around. My hat's off to Congressman Benishek and others that go to Washington with the best of intentions of turning this juggernaut around and trying to drag their feet and so on, and yet it just seems to keep going. And of course, the juggernaut, there's many things that we need to change, and actually, I see Gary there, and we have Pete many of the times, Pete Kenichi, and we got a whole bunch of others. We got 8 of us running for this thing. And I don't know how many of us will be down in Gaylord next week, and then Holland, and I think we got 4 debates next week, if I count correctly. But we get to hear each other, and trust me when I say that for the most part, we're within percentage points on the same side of these issues. So if we go to Washington, we're going to do what you expect us to do. We're going to push the lever in the right direction, okay, when we have to vote. And we're going to be advocating for the positions, the conservative positions. I mean, Debbie Stabenow, I'm just going to say it. I know her, I worked with her when I was a judge. She's a pleasant lady, but she votes bad. And she's not a leader. And the only way to stop a juggernaut is to have leadership. And again, I didn't make myself, you didn't make yourself, we just got to be who we are, but the way God has wired this guy up here is that I like to get things done. I like to lead. And just a little bit. I'm from Grand Rapids, that's where my home is now. I was a Navy veteran. How many veterans we got, by the way, here? Come on, let's thank them, can we, just for a minute? Thank you for your service, guys. Navy veteran, I was in the Pentagon. I had some major projects in the Pentagon. That's where they assigned me, the Office of the Secretary of the Navy, when I left college. I came back to Grand Rapids, was prosecutor for a couple of years. I ran for judge. I got elected to change juvenile court in Kent County. I was the youngest, I was 27 years old, the youngest judge in the state when I got elected. And for 15 years, I mean, we did a lot of things, and not the least of which, I believe I'm the only candidate running for this place that actually wrote a book on the Constitution. It's called Justice for the Unborn, dealing with a case I had, but I deal a lot with judicial review, the Constitution, what it stands for, how to interpret it using rule of law concepts rather than trying to make something up. I did that 15 years, then people recruited. I got reelected a couple times, nobody ran against me. Look, that's the best way to run. Gary, if we could do that, that'd be awesome. But then after 15 years, people came my way and they wanted me to start another organization. So I was executive director of Michigan Family Forum. Started it, just me and a secretary. Honestly, I had to let her go after a period of time. She didn't work out, but we finally grew the staff up to about 13. Money in the bank, and it was working. We influenced the charter school movement of the state, and abstinence-based sex education and other things that we influenced during my 6 years there. The way I'm wired again, I like to build things. Once things are going well, I get bored. And so then I started a business dealing with energy, low energy nuclear reactions. I can talk to more about that as we have time, but I won't bore you with the details, but it's a pretty exciting thing. It really has potential of totally changing our world, and I want it to start in Michigan. And so we continue to work in that area. Again, details if you want it afterwards. Left that to be executive director of Children's Bible Hour in Grand Rapids. They had a need, went there, helped make some changes there. And then 6 years ago, the church where we were attending, the pastor had some administrative needs. I said, I'll give you 90 days to help organize things. It was struggling. And 6 years later, I was still on the staff, and the thing was growing. There's 1,800 people attending, and it's changing lives, a lot of college students. But I quit that in March to run for this position. And by the way, some of you know Pete Hoekstra, who's not here, friend of ours. I met with him repeatedly, and I said, Pete, if you run, I won't run against you. And he said, I'm not running. In fact, I'll help you. Then later, of course, in July, some people, including the governor, I guess, talked with him, and he changed his mind, and we're still friends. His strength is he's been 18 years in Washington. That's also his weakness. My strength is I haven't been in Washington. That's also my strength. And so again, we remain friends, but we continue, to sense that what we need is a fresh set of legs to get to Washington and bring change as far as leadership is concerned. And the area, and I don't want to take too much time here, but the area for change to me, of course, is the debt. That's the one thing, that's the house that's on fire. And it's $15 trillion growing daily in fact, every second. Our debt grows by $76,000 every tick of the clock. And there's just no turning back. And all the congressmen say, we got to do something about this, got to do something about this. But they don't know what it is. Well, to me, I know what it is. I've been speaking about this for almost a year now. It's the welfare system, the welfare state. In fact, Robert Gates, when he left the Secretary of Defense, he says America has to choose. Is it going to be a superpower or a welfare state? It cannot be both. Consider these facts. All the wars that we have fought, from the Revolutionary War to present, have cost taxpayers $6.4 trillion. We started the war on poverty in 1964. It has cost in excess of $16 trillion. And yet we have more poor today and a higher percentage of poor than ever before. We're hurting the very people we say we want to help. Ronald Reagan said in 1988, he said, a number of years ago, federal government did declare war on poverty, and I'm sure he had a twinkle in his eye when he said, poverty won. He went on to say, not only is it expensive, in his day it was $100 billion a year. It's close to $1 trillion a year now. Not only is it expensive, but it makes people perpetually dependent on government handouts, and it wreaks havoc on the safety net that the poor need the most, which is the family. What's happened to the family? We say, we'll give you money, woman, if you have this child out of wedlock. So 4 out of 10 children in America are born to women who are not married. In Detroit, it's 8 out of 10. That is the recipe for perpetual poverty. Yet we continue to hurt people, we're wrecking our economy, and we make people dependent on government handouts. That is not a loving thing to do. So we have a program to move that. It's a non-governmental program. We need to cut the governmental budget in this area. We need to move people from welfare to sustainable work. There's a program to make that happen called social enterprise. I'm a cheerleader for that. I want to move people even between now and November to sustainable work. We're seeing it in Grand Rapids. There's a guy in Grand Rapids, Fred Keller, that's moved 400 people through a program that can be replicated from welfare to sustainable work, and 2/3 of them are still off welfare. That's incredible. And we need to do more of that because we love people. We care about people. All right, we need leadership in Washington, but That's only half the thing. We have two fronts to this war. The other front to this war is here. Government is a lagging indicator of where the culture is. Is American culture healthy today? Yes or no? It is not. Neither is your government. And that's why. So how do we change culture? That's families, that's churches, influencing government. So we need our leaders not only to work in Washington, but we need a bully pulpit to make it happen. And I get a joy out of talking to that. So finally, we're not taking PAC money, but we have a Hekman Pact. P-A-C-T. P stands for prayer. Like Ben Franklin at the Constitutional Convention, to cry out to our powerful friend, God. We need Him. We need to humble ourselves and cry out to Him for help.
Amen.
Prayer, A, ask God what He wants you to do. Don't expect any one of us to go to Washington, wave a white magic wand over the Capitol building and save the day. It's not going to happen. It can't happen. It's going to take all hands on deck. This is like 1776 all over again. Ask God what He wants you to do. C, courageously obey it. And T, together. We're Americans. If we do our part with courage, we will turn this thing around. But if we don't, it ain't going to happen. So I'm asking for your support in the fall, in August, in the election, and then in November. And I think together we're going to make this thing happen. Thank you very much.
I'm going to ask one more time if any representatives from Hoekstra Durant's campaign were here. They had committed